this Terry in my chat here is basically making the point that he's glad that Nord Stream was bombed, even if America did it. Right, Terry? History didn't start in February last year. The history of Ukraine didn't start when Putin invaded it. Putin didn't invade it because he's big and bag and fascist or something like that. And then there's the 8 years previous to February when the Ukrainian side that were being trained by the EU, and now we know NATO as well, they were shelling eastern Ukraine, where there are lots and lots of ethnic Russian speakers. 14,000 died. That's Ukrainians that were killed. That's not Russians. That's Ukrainians. They just happen to be Ukrainians that spoke Russian. You've forgotten all that. You've forgotten that that happened after the 2014 coup, where the CIA overthrew the pro-Russia guy that they had there with much fanfare, and installed Yatsenyuk. Yats was the guy. Victoria Nuland is on tape, on a leaked tape. Yats is the guy. Fuck the EU. You've totally forgotten how in the days leading up to Russia's invasion, the shelling in that region went from 3-4 missiles a day to hundreds. To people who were thinking that this was a good thing, let me try and put the shoe on the other foot. If you were, I don't know, me in the UK, how I would feel if the same thing happened to us. My friend in the chat was talking about Scotland. Scotland has another once-in-a-lifetime referendum, and this time narrowly votes to leave. And they leave the UK, and it's catastrophic for the United Kingdom. America comes in and says, right, we can help you in... and then they did what they did to Russia in the 90s to us. And we end up having to eat pigeons in the street of Trafalgar Square, like happened in Russia after the fall of the Berlin Wall. All right? And let's say that when the Union breaks up, we get assurances from America that we won't expand our military alliance to any of your ex-United Kingdom countries, right? And then some years later, we realise, oh, America's been raping our country. What happens? A strongman dictator comes to power in the UK, right? Let's call him Boris Johnson. And he says, waffle, 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 and basically does what Putin did. Now, let's say the Americans don't like this. And as a result of this, they start funding companies on the border of England. And they start flooding money into Scotland and into Wales and into Ireland because they don't like us, because our foreign policy has deviated from them, because we are a threat to them, or they perceive us as a threat, or they need a threat to keep their military-industrial complex going. It doesn't matter. And let's say this happens over a period of years until 24 years after the breakup of the United Kingdom, America install a pro-American in a coup in Glasgow, and all of a sudden Scotland now has a pro-American, pro-corporate, do whatever they want, anti-England, anti-English, anti-everything English, hates even English being spoken, you've got to speak Scottish. They install him. And then over a period of 10, 15 years, these Scottish separatists that are being funded by America start bombing either side of the Hadrian's Wall, just inside the Scottish border, and 14,000 English people were killed. And let's say these increase, even to the point where America are funding all sorts of laboratories on the border with England, and money flooding in from America, even infecting their airways. And Nancy Pelosi's son ends up on Scottish TV and says, I'm here to talk about soccer.
I'm here with the Corporate Governance Initiative, and today we're here to talk about soccer.
And all this money floods into Scotland, and they get all this anti-English sentiment over a period of years stoked up, and then they start shelling the Hadrian's Wall bit even more. 14,000 English people die over a period of 8 or 9 years. At what point does England go to war with Scotland? At what point does England go to war with America? Because this is what's happened to Russia. This is just me stating historical fact. Can you imagine if it was us that this happened to? And don't think for a second that because we've got this special relationship with America, that won't happen. I never hear Americans call this relationship special. This is a relationship of us being a satellite and a proxy of American power. That's what it is. What makes you think that the minute our foreign policy deviates from America's, they won't blow up a piece of critical infrastructure from us, calling us fascists, spreading lies about our people in the media in Scotland and Ireland? And can you imagine? That's what's happened here. We wouldn't put up with it, would we? Would we? America wouldn't put up with it similarly. We know this for a fact because we've had the Cuban Missile Crisis. Can you imagine if after all that happened and we finally went to war with Scotland and we invaded Scotland, and then America and the rest of NATO went, right, hey, Scotland, you can come into NATO. We're never going to close the door to you. We're going to put nuclear weapons pointed right at England. Would we, as a nation, put up with that? Come on, Terry. Did you like that video? I hope you did. If you want to see more of my work, go over to Substack and subscribe to me there. It's totally free.